Hi Capricorns, and welcome to your November 2020 General Tarot Forecast. This is Sky here to talk to you about the energies coming in for your sign in November. Thank you so much for joining me, Capricorns. I hope you're feeling really good. I think that Scorpio season is going to be really nice for you guys. I think that you're going to feel a lot more emotional motivation. I think you're going to be feeling a lot more, just general harmony in your life. And I think you're going to feel that you are walking through some of the final chapters of a nice experience and preparing to make an even nicer one on the other side of the new year. So a really interesting month coming up for you guys. Your energy and spread are quite similar to Sagittarius's spread, which is neat. They're not exactly the same, but there are some of the similar energies coming up. And I think that that's interesting. I shuffled and shuffled and shuffled, but always if two signs have something in common, it's going to show. So it makes sense as Sagittarius's ruling planet of Jupiter is occupied by your sign. So you and Sagittarius have a lot of common themes that you're going through. A big wake-up call perhaps coming for some Capricorns this month. A larger spiritual journey that leads you to solve some conflict. And the presence of perhaps some new figures in your life that will help you to navigate anything that is not feeling perfect. So what I'm feeling for Capricorn is that you've really got to take things big now. You've really got to maybe commit to a period of time, maybe over the next year or two even, where you really let your own inner potential for expansion bloom and flower. It feels really nice as Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto have been retrograde in your sign for a lot of this year. They are now totally direct and really starting to move. So I think that Capricorns are really starting to move. I feel that you guys are honored. I feel that you're empowered, and I feel that your life gains a new type of structure that you're proud of. There is something about family dynamics that come up. There's something about maybe the maternal figure. There's something also about the paternal figure as well. Parents in general, mother or father figures, can actually be very proud of you now. Or if you are a mother or a father, I feel that you might be like honored by your children, or your children might be actually really engaging in something really neat, and that they might like bring you honor or something. There's something about ancestral honor that's coming up over the next few months. You might see that your child or your parent, depending on your age, is actually engaging in something that a special ancestor of yours did, and it really starts to introduce you to ancestral karma in a positive way. We had earlier this year the potential for like negative ancestral karma as the Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto configuration was retrograde, but now that it's direct, and Jupiter especially is moving out of Capricorn. Jupiter does not do great in Capricorn, but Saturn and Pluto are fine in Capricorn. You start to get a more sense of familial transformation perhaps, but also familial structure that I think will really benefit Capricorns. So if there's anything off within like your family dynamic, or within even like inherited family, so it might not even be for all of you like blood family, but it might be inherited family, so like best friends or partnerships, anything like that. If there's anything that feels off, or if there's anything that still feels heavy or restrictive or confined, which is also still possible, this year for everybody has actually brought the energy where someone that is like family to you can have a sudden change in personality or a sudden change in disposition. And that can be hard to reconcile, seeing somebody that might really now be an unethical or non-integrity based person who used to be really close to you and used to have like great integrity. That's been possible to see a lot this year. So if you've seen that, Capricorn, I think that now you've got to really build around it. And I think you've got to build and foster your own sense of honor and your own sense of integrity. Because a lot of people don't know it, but Capricorn actually has a large rulership over the theme of integrity, over the theme of hypocrisy as well. You see Sagittarius starts to create those concepts in the ninth house, all of these sort of like philosophical ideas, and then Capricorn makes them real and gives us like a real tangible example of both. So, Capricorn can sometimes be like the most integrity-based, most charitable, most honorific type of person. Also, it can be the most hypocritical and bitter type of person as well. We have that entire spectrum represented by the sign of Capricorn. So you do, with all this direct, heavy outer planet transits in your sign, Capricorn, have the opportunity to choose which side of that you're going to fall on. And do know that by the new year of 2021, once Jupiter and Saturn go into Aquarius and pass over the cusp of your sign in Aquarius, that will be fixed, as Aquarius is a fixed sign. So our reputation does really get fixed by the end of this year. So it's important for us to know what we want to represent. And it's so easy. It's so easy to be on that integrity side of things just by choosing it, you know. It's also very easy to be on the bitterness side of things too by choosing it. So know that it is a choiceful time for you guys in general, and for your families, it feels like. Let's see, what do I want to talk about next before we get into the week to week? I'm just looking here. I'm kind of taking a second to absorb your spread. Let's see. You know, I do think there's something to be said for the Three of Wands coming up, you know, as well as Judgment and the High Priestess. Your new horizons, or the new things that you're embarking on, are going to start to really get a lot more major. You might have felt small among some of the more overarching energies this year. And you start to get like bigger and bigger, okay? The inner, and this is kind of just a very raw channeling, but what I'm feeling is that your energy is getting like bigger and bigger throughout this month. So with that comes like that new horizon, or that new light at the end of the tunnel. And you've got to spiritually discern and process that, as well as wake up to the reality of it with Judgment and the High Priestess. So that process can be a little bit cumbersome, but I think that you will really enjoy it throughout the month of November, okay? Let's talk about the week-to-week Capricorn. So week number 1 of November, you've got the Three of Wands rooted down by Page of Swords. So yeah, new decision about your life path is so possible. You know, career changes, changes in focus, changes in degree programs, changes in business structure, changes. Having Pluto and Saturn conjunct in Capricorn is something else, because on one hand, we've got incredible ability with Pluto to transform old structures, to make a new business, to make a new business structure, to make a new career for ourselves, to radically transform our own philosophy. Whereas with Saturn in Capricorn, it wants us to stick with what has worked and what is contextual. So that conflict is something that everybody feels right now. Do I just stick to what has worked for me, or do I really try to transform and radically change who I am and what I represent? Did you guys hear that? Did you guys catch all that? That's great stuff. I mean, I wish I could. I'm going to have to maybe go back and listen to that and note that down, because that's really the best way to describe the interplay between Saturn and Pluto conjunct in Capricorn, which we haven't had since the 1500s. It's part of what has made this year so crazy. But, you know, you guys are the front and center of that. You know, it's in your sign. So you guys get this more than anybody else. It's like, what do I choose? How do I move forward? What choices do I make? You guys know how much of an effect the choices of this time have. And in the first week of November, you're going to really just actually get lighter with things. I like Page of Swords coming up for you. You know, you're getting sharper. It feels like you're getting more logical with things. You're getting more articulate with things. You're getting more aware of the horizons that are looking straight back at you. Congratulations, you know, it's a congratulatory week for you. Week number 2, you have the High Priestess rooted down by Page of Cups, and all of a sudden it just switches over to a more watery energy, and we're in Scorpio seasons. This works well for you guys. Again, the water element is harmonious for Capricorn as an earth sign. It's going to give you growth. It's going to give you a better cohesion, a better understanding of your life ideals and experiences. So second week, what I'm feeling is you've got to kind of reroute a little bit. You've got to reroute some of the emotional experiences. Okay, yeah, this is gold. So good for Capricorn right now to no longer be held down by those old mindsets. Some of you are getting like a dark cloud, or a feeling of bad luck, or a feeling of woe is me. Not all of you. Eeyore experiences, you know. Cancer Capricorn cusp goes through this a lot. that's getting rerouted in the second week, and it needs to turn more so into production or into creation, really starting to reroute those woe is me Eeyore experiences into creative capacity. All right, that's the interplay of the first and second week for you guys. Okay, so even though, yeah, some of your cards are very similar to Sagittarius's spread, the energy is so different for you as a Capricorn. It's really cool to see. And for those of you with Sagittarius placements in your chart, it's helpful to distinguish these things, because whereas for Sagittarius, the High Priestess energy was so much more about like, really leveling up, really like graduating in a sense, or graduating from a sense of like spiritual confinement. For Capricorn, it's so different. It's more so about like rerouting spiritually an emotional experience into a much more youthful, Page of Cups, heart on your sleeve, creative capacity. So I just think that that's beautiful. Great for the artists, great for the musicians. Capricorn is such a musically, artistically gifted sign as well. So you want to see about what the second week has to offer in regards to that. So week number 3, Capricorns, you've got 7 of Wands rooted down by Knight of Swords. So a little bit conflicted there. I think that you might have disagreement. You might have argumentative people. You might have a bit of a tug of war, but you're going to quickly move out of that. And it's important to see like, okay, I've had this experience, or I've had, people who were opposed to me in this way, yet I was on higher ground, and go away from the opposition. Okay. That's what I would recommend. That's sort of what Knight of Swords said. It's like, just get away from it. Get away from these people who are so, critical or so opposed to common sense or common ideas. This does feel important to Capricorn. There's no need to argue with brick walls, You guys have a bit of an issue, it feels like, with opposing ideas. Okay, so on one hand, yes, you don't want to argue with the unarguable, but on the other hand, it's good to also honor the different ideas of other people, even if you can't come to a cohesive agreement. It's good to know that different opinions help you to solidify your own truth. Without those differing opinions, sometimes our truth becomes something much less sturdy, okay? So whereas arguments are not fun and not something that are great, it does oftentimes help us to define our own truths further. So it is good to know spiritually that if you're having a lot of arguments in your life, or if you're having a lot of contention or deliberation or debate, or, non-fixed solidification of who you are, that is always a sign that you're not quite convinced of where you stand on things. So as you get more identified and more clear in your own projection, argumentative people will become less a part of your path. And as you move into the 4th week with Judgment rooted down by Queen of Wands, you've got to wake up to the charisma of you, or the charisma of your experience. Are you really sold on your experience? Are you, really engaged and finding purpose in what you're doing? It doesn't have to be 100%. It doesn't have to be, this job that is giving you stability 100% of the time, just being this perfect thing. That's not real life. Even the things that you think are perfect are not enjoyable sometimes, because we have a weird relationship with stability. But if things are way too hard, or if things are way too big of a problem, you've got to start maybe accepting new paths or new ideas, or having that wake up call, or having that new call to action about what you want to do, waking up to your true purpose, waking up to what you're more destined for as well. Because it's really easy with the energies this year to get a little bit left of center, to get a little bit out of our own path, and we got to kind of re-embark ourselves in the 4th week of November to the path that is more authentically ours. So that's a lot of what November is for you guys, is re-embarking to a path that is authentically yours, and you will be, I think, nothing but rewarded for that. Remember the integrity aspect. Remember, also what forgiveness is. Like, if you guys have been there, or if you're struggling with something that relates to forgiveness, that seems important too. And without further ado, Capricorns, I'm going to do an extended reading for you guys over on Patreon. I hope you've enjoyed this reading. We'll talk more about you guys next month and into Capricorn season, because we're getting super close to Capricorn season, which should be a really interesting time. But if you enjoyed the reading, be sure to subscribe to the channel if you're new and turn on the bell notifications. Your likes and comments make my day. Give me some feedback. Let me know how the reading resonated for you. And if you would like to support the channel and get these readings early and ad-free, as well as weekly forecasts, you can jump over to Patreon and get a subscription. And I will link that in the center of the screen as well as below. I'll talk to you later, Capricorn. Let's jump over to Patreon for the extended. Much love. Bye.